So today we're going to talk about, can a man over 40 fall in love? Ask these questions, and I think you're going to really appreciate the content I'm about to share with you. I originally was going to title this, How Does a Man Fall in Love? But I thought to myself, can a man fall in love is a much better question. Now, really quickly, I just want to share with everyone, just this past weekend, I was with a group of men. There was a total of 9 of them. Of those 9, 7 of them were in a relationship. One was a young millennial that he's on the spectrum, so he doesn't count in this category I'm talking about. Of these other 7 men in the group, they were all in a relationship, 5 of them married, and 2 of them in relatively seasoned relationships. And I'm sharing this from personal experience. These men are genuinely in love with their spouse, with their girlfriend. You can just see it in the way they actually shared how they felt about their relationship. And I'm going to share something with you in just a little bit that will illustrate this point. But I was the only single guy there. And I'll be candid with you in full transparency. I am burnt out on the dating process. I am burnt out on swiping. I am burnt out on boring conversations, and the list goes on and on. If I'm being really honest, I want to bypass the dating process and go straight to a relationship. In fact, forget that. I want to bypass the dating process. I want to bypass the relationship process. I want to go straight to being in love. Now, I'm laughing a little bit because I know how ridiculously that sounds. And yet, raise your hand if you feel the same way. Tell me, do you feel like you'd like to bypass the dating process and go straight into a relationship, straight to being in love? See, I learned something in my last relationship, that I actually have the capacity to go all in. I have the capacity now to go all in. And yet I recognize, for those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s, that we have more challenges that we face versus some of our young underlings, our youngins that are in their 20s and 30s. See, we have something called life. And within that concept of life is something that's called baggage. We may not like the terminology, but the fact of the matter is, we come to the table with a lot more stuff in our lives that makes it challenging to just meet and instantly fall in love with someone. Although those seems to be rare these days as well. So what's the rub? You want to be in a relationship, and you want to be in love. And yet we have to date, whether we like it or not. We have to date. We have to be seen by single eligible people. So how do we put the odds in our favor? Just like in the Hunger Games, may the odds forever be in your favor. How do we put the odds in our favor? In my own personal experience, I think it starts with a genuine self-examination of your own life. Look at your entire life, your relationship history. Look at the choices you've made along the way without pointing the finger at the other person. I mean, self-examination, 100% taking ownership for 100% of your experience when it comes to your past relationships. And ask yourself, do you see some patterns? Do you have a pattern of choosing a certain type of person? Now, it's quite possible that pattern is directly related to a childhood wound or adult trauma. And if you're not familiar with these 2 books I'm about to share with you, I highly recommend reading The Hoffman Process. The Hoffman Process. This is a deep dive into healing childhood wounds and adult traumas. All the books I recommend are listed in the link below under Jonathan Recommend Books. But also the book Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix and Helen Hunt. You will learn about something known as the Imago. I-M-A-G-O. I-M-A-G-O. And what that directly relates to is we oftentimes choose people similar to one of our both of our parents or caretakers growing up. Now you might be going, well, Jonathan, how does this relate to can a man fall in love? Well, if you are doing this self-examination, if you're looking at your patterns and your choices, and if you aren't doing that, then I invite you to hire someone like myself. By the way, there's a link right here to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. One of the things I do in my private coaching is we examine our past experiences and we create tools so we can attract a different set of circumstances going forward through discernment. One of my area of expertise is really helping people with discernment, but more importantly, with their intuition. So if you need some support with that, check out the links below. So coming back to the question, can a man fall in love? Well, I think it's important that the man do self-examination in his life, or men to do that, to actually look at their own patterns, how they've chosen people, maybe even reading the books I recommend so they can start opening their heart more to love. Getting clear on the type of relationship that you want. And certainly, and by the way, I'm going to offer some questions in a moment that's really going to help with this. So just stick with me for a few minutes. But when you get clear on the type of relationship you want, you establish your standards. Now, ladies, I can tell you, sometimes your standards are absolutely ridiculous in the wrong areas, And I'm going to share about 7 standards that you may want to revisit your current standards, because oftentimes it's, I'm 5'7", I wear 4-inch heels, so I must be with a man who's 6 foot and over. If your whole relationship standard base is based on you wearing heels, or whether or not he took you on a coffee date versus a dinner date, or whether or not he ordered filtered water instead of bottled water on the date, if that is your standard, you are oftentimes shooting yourself in the foot. If your standard is he took you to Cheesecake Factory instead of a nice upscale restaurant, your standard is shooting yourself in the foot. We're going to talk about some standards that are far more important than the oftentimes trivial standards we see on TikTok repeatedly, that's possibly even poisoning your way of approaching relationships. And you have to make effort with people in the world, whether it's a virtual effort, whether it's real world effort. We have to get physically seen to be asked on a date. So can a man fall in love? Well, as I said, he's got to do the same work as you. Otherwise, he won't be prepared to know what love is. Folks, I'm going to offer what I believe is healthy love in just a moment. I want you to write this down. I'll repeat myself, okay? But this is what I believe is healthy love. See, coming back to the book, Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix, Helen Hunt, or Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, or the book Wired for Love, we oftentimes, there's something known as love attachment style that is mistaken for genuine heart-centered love. When we attach ourselves to another human being in an unhealthy way, because healthy love comes from a place of gratitude, and unhealthy love is that jonesing for another person who doesn't really treat you that well. I want you to examine that in your past experiences. Have you been strung out by somebody and they weren't really that great of a partner? That's most likely unhealthy love versus healthy love. So let me tell you what healthy love looks like to me. And this is what the words I love you mean to me. It means I'm here. You matter. We are important. I've got your back. I'm not going anywhere, and I only want you. Okay? I'm here means I'm present to our experience. I'm present to our experience. I'm not thinking about the past relationships I'm in. I'm not looking on Instagram to replace you for the bigger, better deal. I am here. I'm present to you. You matter. That means your feelings are commensurate with my own feelings. Think about that. You matter. Your feelings are commensurate to my own feelings. I put your feelings at the same par as my own feelings. We are important. That means the relationship is a separate entity. And I'm going to treat it with respect, dignity, compassion, care, giving, and passion. But we'll talk about that in a second. We are important. I've got your back. Look, you need a ride at the airport at 3 a.m. because you're catching one of those early flights. I'm going to get in the car to take you there. You need something? I've got your back. I want you to think about that. I've got your back. That's such a powerful statement to know that you're in a relationship with someone who's going to be there for you when you need them. I'm not going anywhere. That means I'm committed. Look at, for better, for worse, rich or poor, sickness and health, I'm going to be there. I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to this relationship. And lastly, I only want you. That means, look, I might see a Playboy every now and again. I might look at an Instagram every now and again, but I'm not looking to be with those women. And I was kidding about the Playboy, but because I don't even get that magazine anymore. But I only want you. You're the only person I want to jump in bed with and wrestle around and have fun and have juicy, delicious sex together. You're the only one I want from both my loins and from my heart. I'm here. You matter. We're important. I've got your back. I'm not going anywhere, and I only want you. That, to me, is what healthy love is all about. So when you're considering, can a man fall in love, I want you to examine the following questions, because the capacity to love is a function of emotional maturity. And more importantly, or equally importantly, is when someone has their act together. When the ground underneath a person isn't solid, it's very difficult for them to genuinely love another human being. We might do it from a dependent place, but not from an interdependent place. In just a minute, in a couple minutes, I will share you questions you should be asking early on in the dating process, maybe even before a first date. But some of the most important qualities of a relationship is first, both people identifying what needs are most important to them in a relationship. The whole point of being in a relationship with another human being is that you have a need, and this other person is going to be a contributor to that need. For example, I have a need for closeness. I have a need for reciprocity. I have a need for trust. I have a need for respect. I have a need for physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. And I have a need for play. These are just a few of the needs that are so critically important in my life. And I invite you to write down those needs that are important for you in your life. I think another factor to consider is to know your strengths and weaknesses, and how this plays into a relationship. We often call these roles, but to know what your strength is, to know what your weakness is. I think of my mother and father. My mother was a wonderful cook. My father took care of the bills. That was their roles in their relationship. They each knew their strength. They each knew their weaknesses. For example, I'll be candid with you. My weakness is I'm a terrible social planner. I would love to relinquish that role to someone else who's good at doing that, because I'm a good follower in that case. If you want to plan a hike this Saturday, I'm up for it. If you want to go to the ballet, I'm up for it. You just make the arrangements. That's my weakness. My strength is developing the emotional component within a relationship. That happens to be a strength of mine. I invite you all to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and be cognizant of that in the early stage of dating. Certainly, your capacity to be emotionally self-aware and to be able to regulate your emotions when there's conflicts. That's a critically important skill to have in a relationship. And someone's capacity to love is going to be predicated on their capacity to resolve conflicts in a relationship. I think a factor we don't talk about, but money is energy. Money is energy. And money plays a role in relationships. So I think it's important to have healthy, honest conversation about money instead of the grand expectation that it's a man's role to cover everything, especially for those of us in midlife. Given that midlife, roughly 75% of single men and women out there are divorced, comes with divorce, alimony, child support. A lot of financial factors play into the health of a relationship. And so I think having an awareness around money is rather critically important. Instead of being naive about this, I'm inviting you to think about these things even before you go on another date with somebody. Certainly someone's spiritual capacity plays a role in, someone's spirituality plays a role in how they love, and how they can be in relationship. Do you have a connection with something greater than yourself? Do you have a connection with your higher self? Whatever that looks like for you, I think it plays an absolute role in someone's capacity, particularly for those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s. And then I'm about to share this in a little more detail, but what does we're going to talk about commitment plays a huge role in this factor. And more importantly, where does someone view their vision of their life? What's their direction of their life? Do two people have a shared vision? Do they have a shared understanding of commitment? And so here are some critically important questions I invite you to ask of a man early on to determine if he can fall in love with somebody. Can he fall in love? First question. This is no particular order, okay? Do you want to build a life with somebody? Do you want to build a life with somebody? Do you want to build a life with somebody? And if the answer is yes, what does that look like? See, somebody could say yes, but then they don't, until you actually have to describe what that looks like. Most of you know, who follow me and watched enough of my videos, I always say the same thing. I'm looking for a relationship where we spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together, doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in our personal or professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. I want to build a life with someone. I've created the blueprint. You are welcome to borrow my blueprint, okay? You go back and rewind this, do it at a slower speed and write it all down, okay? But I like to think that's a pretty good blueprint of what it looks like to build a life with somebody. The next question, this is the most important question for a man if he can fall in love, because this is, as Rabbi Manis Freedom says, is the essence of what it is to be a man in relationship. And that is, do you want to take care of somebody? Do you want to take care of somebody? This question probably is going to turn off 90% of men from even wanting to explore a relationship with you, because a significant percentage of men aren't really in the capacity to take care of someone, or they don't want to do it. If a man doesn't want to take care of someone, and if a woman doesn't want to, a woman can't, it's not about financially taking care of. It's about, are you willing to go to the doctor's appointments with me when I'm getting older? Are you going to be by my side if I'm going through chemotherapy? You're going to wipe the vomit from my face. I learned this in my last significant relationship. What all in meant was, for better or for worse, I want to take care of someone. And what that looks like is going to be different. It's not always monetary. It can be emotionally, it can be physical. And the last question I invite you to ask a man going forward is, what makes you think you're ready for commitment? What makes you think you're ready for a commitment? If someone asks me that, it's because I've had 3 significant relationships. And in each relationship, I learned so much about myself and my capacity. But what makes me ready for commitment is I know I'm capable of going all in with somebody. I'm capable of going all in with somebody. And that's what makes me think I'm ready. And you have to ask all of these questions for yourself as well. Do you want to build a life with someone? What does that look like? Do you want to take care of someone? What does that look like? Or how does that look? And what makes you think you're ready for commitment? These are some critically important questions that will give you an indication if this man is even capable of falling in love. And why shouldn't we be asking this on a first, second, or third date? Why is everybody so afraid of deeper questions? Because here's the dilemma. You can get attached to someone who answers all of these questions wrong. Or when I say the word wrong, not in alignment with you. And boy, when you've gone into a relationship like that, it's a real clusterfuck, in my opinion. There's a lot of sunk cost in there. And you can, when I mean I said clusterfuck, what I really mean is the emotional bankruptcy that happens when you've given your heart to someone who isn't capable of falling in love. And I think I've given you a pretty fair outline, if a man over 40 can fall in love, the type of things you should be considering going forward. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating? Please let me know. In fact, someone just posted it. Are they capable of falling in love? Ask these questions. Do you want to build a life with someone? What does that look like? Do you want to take care of someone? Not necessarily monetary. What makes you think you're ready for commitment? Are you capable of going all in? Thank you to our Facebook member for posting that. I certainly do appreciate that. Hey, if what I just shared sparked some curiosity or questions for you, post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in this video, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me, right there is a link to a discovery call to see if working with a coach is right for you. All the links below to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, to follow me on Instagram, to get all the books I recommend are listed below. All right, it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him there, right there, with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 5 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, just to name a few places, and also scholarships on coaching as well. All right, so if you have a question, write the word question. Our goal tonight is $50. Let's get to $50 tonight. I'd appreciate the love. All right. Wow, we already have a busy group in the house. Julie says, is Netflix and chilling quality time, is that a good start for a relationship? I guess it depends. You know, I don't think we should underestimate leisure time in a relationship. I think there's a value to it. It's not all. It's funny. I lived with someone and we used to only go out once a week. Now we went but we found fun going to Costco together. We used to go grocery shopping twice a week. And oh my God, we binged watch all the 90-day fiancés and stuff like that. But yeah, there's value in doing that. But I would say your relationship needs to be more than one dimensional. You know, I would say having something more than that would be probably have greater chance for success. So yeah, but I'm good with Netflix and chill. Melanie says, these are questions I'll be asking tomorrow. Please let us know how it goes in our next live chat. Rachel, can a man love you after one date and a few weeks of getting to know you? He's 2.5 hours away, so it's difficult to see each other. Here's my definition of love. I'm here. You matter. We're important. I've got your back. I'm not going anywhere. I only want you. Okay, that's my definition. Do I think that can happen after one date? No. I think it's just ludicrous to believe otherwise. Could infatuation and limerence happen after a first date? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. But here's how I define love. Will that man, this first date man, be sitting by your side if you're going through chemotherapy on your second date and he wiped the vomit from your face? That's my definition of love. So if you think he's actually going to be there, if you got in a terrible car accident, is he going to be by your side? I highly doubt it. You guys haven't built the deep roots of trust. Takes time to build the deep roots of trust. Deep roots of trust. To Blave. No. Does anyone get that little reference? No, I just don't believe that's the case. But could he feel limerence, infatuation? Absolutely. And the fact that you're 2.5 hours away means you've got a already problematic relationship. That's going to put a lot of emphasis on the need for chemistry because it's going to be difficult to build the deep roots of trust. That's just my opinion anyway. Annika's in the house. What is the difference between being in love, infatuation, attachment, and how can I know the difference between these for myself and the man I'm dating? You know, this is the billion-dollar question sometimes. Because what we believe is love is oftentimes unhealthy attachment. What we believe is love is infatuation. You know, I quantify love is, will this person be by my side when I'm going through tough times? That's how I quantify love. That's because I don't think you can look at it. Well, first off, we can be attached in an unhealthy way. So maybe it's not just that either. You know what? I guess the best way I can describe what it feels like to me is I can be my authentic self and I know they're not going to run away. That's to me, maybe that's my definition of it. I can be my authentic self and they're not going to run away. That's a scary place to be sometimes, but that's my definition anyway. Hope that helps you. Hey, Margaret. Oh my God. $15 super sticker. That means we have $35 more to go. Margaret, you are an angel. If I can reach into the camera and give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug, I appreciate every single time we do a broadcast. You are always contributing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's get that up there, everyone. Thanks. She just showed us the way. Let's keep going. Bump, 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 bump. Let's see. Okay. Power of Chi is in the house. Jonathan, have you ever been interviewed on Lewis Howes' show, School of Greatness? If not, would you like to? I would be awesome to see. I would love to be on Lewis Howes' interview. If anyone has a connection to Lewis Howes' School of Greatness, I would love to be able to talk about dating over 40, 50, and 60-year-olds because sadly, I watch his stuff all the time and I wish they would speak to our demographic. So if you have a connection, please, folks, if do me a favor, go to his blog, say you need to interview Jonathan Aslay. Will you guys help me get on Lewis Howes? I'd be so grateful. Sherry, real love correlates with trust and commitment. I agree. Bump, bump, bump. Power Chi also says it would be an awesome interview. I hope so. Melanie says, and this is sad, she says, unfortunately, my car accident led to a divorce because he couldn't be there for myself and our children. You know, some people don't have the capacity, they don't have the emotional capacity to handle challenging circumstances. We human beings are rather indoctrinated is that we want everything spoon-fed for us. So I'm not surprised that happened, Melanie, and I'm genuinely sorry that happened for you as well. Jane Spit. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to join the hot seat, I would love it. If I just put a link right there, if you want to be live with me, I'd love for someone to join the hot seat. I think tonight, and I'll try to be nice, okay? Jane Spitfire is in the house. Is it a good idea to date a man 10 years older, searching for a life mate and be looking good when with him? Well, I don't know. I don't know why it would be a bad idea. I guess the question is, why would you think it's a bad idea? I mean, I don't understand. I think, listen, I think as we age, it's much more difficult because if the days in front of us are shorter than the days behind us and we want as many days as possible, I can understand why dating someone older could be a reservation for both genders. I think it's one of the reasons why men go with younger women. I think I see women going with younger men as well. You've got to do what's right for you, Jane. You got to do what's right for you. I don't know the downside, though. Hey, Annika just gave us a $5 super sticker. That means we have $30 more to go tonight. Thank you so much. Madison, I recently told by a guy that he couldn't be himself around me, but he wouldn't explain. Thoughts? Well, my suspicion is he has, okay. This is one possible, okay? There is a belief that when a man shows insecurity to a woman, that he will reject him and leave him. Now, this actually happens a significant percentage of the time. So there are some men believe that if they are genuinely vulnerable with a woman, that she might reject him. Okay, she might reject him. So I think that's one possible reason why he said he couldn't be himself, because he's probably has some insecurity or fears or a vulnerability. And he fears you might not respect him. You might not appreciate him. Look at, I sometimes uncontrollably fart, okay? I guess it's control. I know that that's not very appealing, okay? And I know that if I do it on a habitual basis, I might piss someone off. So, but when I'm by myself, I could care less. I mean, I'm being kind of, I'm using an idiotic example, but truthfully, it's kind of a reflection of sometimes our bad habits that we are fine by ourselves isn't appreciated by someone. But what I'm really talking about in this case, Madison, is most likely he doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable because he's been hurt in the past when he's been vulnerable with someone. That's a possible explanation. And he doesn't want to explain it to you. Sherry says, agree with Jonathan and Lewis Howes. Yes, please, everybody send him a note, email him, post comments on his videos that he should have me on. Rachel was kind enough to give us a $5 super sticker. That means we have $25 more to go tonight. All right. Kathy says, being there for you during chemo is a huge indicator of depth or even existence of his love. My ex only went to one treatment with me, 33 years married. You know, I'm going to share something with you. In my most significant relationship, I met her in May of 2022, and it lasted 14 months. Right on our, we talked on the phone for over a year, just on and off, like 7 or 8 times before we physically met. And during meetings, she shared with me a medical condition she had. And And now, is this a life-threatening condition? No, but it could be problematic. Um, and I spoke to a girlfriend about it, and she says, "Well, aren't you really concerned? That could be a big deal at some point in life." And what was interesting was I didn't seem to care. That wasn't AIDS, okay? That one I probably would have cared about way more. But it wasn't that. I'm not saying it was that, but it was something else. It was something to do that could be a little bit problematic. But you know what? I knew the value in this person beyond the physical limitation. And sometimes your heart looks past all of the garbage and says, you know what? Even if the ride, oh, it makes me cry. Even if the ride is short, I just want to go on the ride with this person. Oh my God. Okay. I better change the subject real quick or I'll start bawling. Annika's back in the house. If he tells me that he loves me but is not in love with me and still wants to be with me, is that a user or spender? I doubt it's a user. User are short-lived, guys. You know, I think when we say I love you but I'm not in love with you, to me that means I care for you but I'm not all in. And that's the reason why that's known as a spender, is because they want companionship, connection, and sex, but they most likely can't fully commit to you. That's, in love is such a radical intangible. I think it's sometimes rare that two people are genuinely in love with each other. I think sometimes it happens for one person, but when two people are genuinely in love with each other, this is how they feel. They feel like they got the better end of the deal. I got the better end of the deal. No, she's like, no, she's got the better end. She says, I've got the better end of the deal. No, I've got the better end of the deal. That's how I see that. But yeah, it could be a spender. And folks, if you're brand new to my channel, you're not familiar with spenders. It's a chart of 3 types of people actively dating. This is not a fact. It's merely an opinion. There are users, roughly 20% of the population. Those are the seek short-term gain, love bombers, players, gold diggers, entitled people, selfish people, only caring about themselves. Then over here at the other end, 20% of the population are grower builders. They seek long-term commitment. They're emotionally grown up. They have good relationship skills. They have their act together. In the middle, the spenders, representing 60% of the population. They seek companionship, connection, and sex, but they have uncertainty, fears, fearful, usually have a dysfunctional life. Makes it, as I went back to this broadcast before, emotional maturity and having your act together are critically important foundations to be able to genuinely be in love with somebody. Bum, 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 bum. Julie's back in the house. Should a man in his 50s realize it's time for him to pick a girlfriend? Well, every human being can do whatever he wants. What do you care about a man in his 50s? If you're talking about a specific man, not everybody has to be in relationship. You know what matters most to me, Julie? What do you realize for yourself? What do you realize? Folks, stop, ladies, stop worrying about the men. Focus on yourself. Everything I share is equal for men and women alike. I want you to focus on what your needs are. Let's focus on that. Leaf says, recent news is there's more STDs in seniors than younger people, suggesting insist on seeing legitimate doctor-run tests. Yeah, but you know what? Herpes nowadays is no big deal. I mean, for the most part. And gonorrhea and syphilis, you can take a pill to get rid. I mean, you literally can take a pill for that. Yeah, 1 in 3 people have herpes, but Valtrex solves that pretty easily. That doesn't cure it, but it's rarely ever going to be disastrous. That's just my opinion on that. Okay. Sherry Fleming says, will you do a request to a podcast? I've done it. I haven't been, his staff hasn't gotten back to me. Maybe if you all bug him, if you go on his YouTube channel and said, you should interview Jonathan Aslay, and someone else says you should interview Jonathan Aslay. Julie says, you're hilarious, Jonathan. You make my day. But Jonathan, I finally took me 40 minutes to do the but Jonathan. Give me something give me something juicy where I can do the but Jonathan. But Jonathan, they have an STD. No. Annika's in the house. When he says he loves me, but is not, oh, you already did that. Awaken love, free yourself, says Jonathan. I appreciate your vulnerability is in this. It makes me more confident to interact, to find. I am so happy to hear that. Thank you so much. Leaf says you were really supportive to Marie, even with her bad shoulder. Oh God, I forgot about the bad shoulder. Yeah, like we were a team. I really appreciate that. Hey, Tracy just gave us a $5 super sticker. That means we only have $20 more to go tonight. Thank you for the love, Tracy. Bum, 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 bum. Tracy says, you are always keeping it real. I love that. I got emotional for a moment because I don't think I really, it's funny. Did you ever see Sex and the City? The first episode of Sex and the City, the last scene is where Carrie is talking to Mr. Big. And he said, she asked him, have you ever been in love? And he said, abso-fucking-lutely. Does anyone remember that scene? I think it was the first episode, last scene of the first episode. I don't think I really felt the kind of all-in love with my two previous relationships. In other words, my marriage or my significant relationship after my divorce. And I think it makes me emotional in that for the first time, I really wanted to take care of somebody. And so can a man fall in love? Yes. I think when a man says, I want to take care of you, that is one of the most beautiful expressions of love. And so I think I needed to experience that so I could be ready for that in my next, whether it's my next incarnation in life or in this journey of my soul's journey, or for my next relationship, I had to be prepared to go all in. And I'm grateful that Marie and I had this experience so I could open my heart, because I think I had a closed heart for 50 years. And I'm just grateful that my heart opened, at least as far as it could open within that relationship. Anyway, I'm really emotional over this, so please forgive me. Patricia's in the house. Nice guy I've been seeing 3 months, no sex, recently revealed he has herpes. I appreciate the honesty, but I don't know what to do because I really like him and he's been great. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. I probably have slept with a half a dozen or more women who have had herpes and I never got it. Okay? I'm just going to own it. I know for a fact I never got it. Herpes isn't a big deal. It really isn't. Now, you may think it is. I don't see it as a big deal. I know a lot of people who have it. I know I have married friends who have it. I know I have married friends who have had children who had it. It's just a virus. It's like, a little bit more of a pain in the ass than COVID, in my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion, Patricia. You can take it for, you can take it for whatever. Okay. Let's keep going. Bump, bump, bump. Living Large Coaching and Counseling says it's almost inevitable. If you're together long enough, you wind up taking care of each other financially. Indeed. Indeed. One of my Facebook member groups is in the house. Jonathan, you're absolutely right. Or you are absolutely right, Jonathan Asley. We need to focus on ourselves. I was focusing and worrying about him, and it was making me weary. So now I focus on me. It will happen if it's meant to be. Indeed. I don't know what the goosebumps are for, but I'm happy you got them. Let's keep going. Tracy's in the house. What do you consider to be your biggest life lesson? Oh, wow. If you're talking about me, so this will take me a little while to share, and I'm going to share this with the hopes that this invites you all to be introspective. So many of you know I lost a child, which was which birthed the book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. And losing Connor broke my heart open in so many different ways. In some ways, he's been my greatest teacher, but I recognize that the real journey to self-love began 15 years earlier. When, or not 15 years earlier, 14 years earlier. No, 13 years earlier, excuse me, when I lost my high-end paying corporate job. I was going through a divorce, and I got wiped out in the market crash of 2008 and 9. Okay. I was 40 years old. Okay. My identity was crushed. My identity was crushed. And I was in the pit of despair for a decade. I mean, I would say a good part of my 40s, I was in the pit of despair. Folks, I used to live in a $2.2 million home. And after all this, I had to move in with my mother and father in a 1,000 square foot condo in a retirement community with a bunch of, at that time, felt like I was in my 40s, and it felt like a bunch of old fogies, 80s and 90-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 55-year-olds. And being in the pit of despair, I used to go to bed wishing I didn't wake up. And I had 2 small children at the time. I went to bed wishing I didn't wake up. And I had one mantra. It's actually Walt Disney's mantra: keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. Just keep swimming, Dory. Just keep swimming. Just keep moving forward. Just every day, just try a little bit more each day. Just try a little bit more each day. Just a little bit, like even 1 millimeter. And during that course of time, it began the journey of who I am today. Look at who I am today. I'm reaching 180,000 plus people through YouTube. I've helped thousands of people find love in their life. I get email after email and messages and letters and cards and gifts from so many people saying, Jonathan, you made a difference in my life. And folks, I went to bed wishing I didn't wake up for almost a decade. So the lesson was, first, I had to fall down to find out who I really was. Could I get up? So by the time my son passed away 13 years later, or some years later, excuse me, I was able to handle what most people will tell you that will take them down and they never recover. I know so many parents who lose children, they never recover from it. I went through hell before Connor passed away. We all have the capacity to get up when we fall down. And that's my invitation for everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share. I appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. Please forgive me. I'm just searching through by the way, does anyone want to join the hot seat and give me some love directly right now? I really would appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. Up. Kathy says, so glad you soldiered on. I appreciate your vulnerability and all you share here. Thank you so much. Someone wrote that herpes goes dormant after 10 years. I believe that's to be the case as well. Sharon says, I can relate, Jonathan. I was on a 100-acre ranch, second divorce exit. After that, in the late 40s, my oldest of 3 sons died unexpectedly. That heartbreak paramount to divorce and heartache. God heals. Oh, I'm sending you off with a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. I'm so saddened to hear that. There are no words. There are no words. You're in my prayers right now. Just keep swimming. There you go. By the way, Laura says, please hit that like button right now. If this is resonating with you, please hit that like button. Folks, I'm here to tell you, there are men that can fall in love. There are women who can fall in love. That is out there. That is out there for all of us. Folks, sometimes I feel like a cynic. I feel like such a cynic. And many of you appreciate me because of my realism. But I'm going to tell you something. I got to witness a group of guys this past weekend who genuinely love their wives and their girlfriends. And I mean this sincerely. There are good men out there. There's just a lot of bad daters and a lot of people who just don't look as good as they get older. But there are a lot of good people out there. Kristen says, can you do a video about rebuilding, but more professionally and financially? The self-help stuff is, of course, joined to, but like to hear about the whole story. Yes, I can. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, Melanie's back in the house. I am question. Am I sabotaging? Thinking of losing my looks at 53 to his 41 before he even has wrinkles. He professes love and often asks, how did he get so lucky to find me? I don't know if you're self-sabotaging. Excuse me, sabotaging. I was in a relationship with a woman who was 10 years older than me. In this case, you're 12 years older. I think she had a fear of that. And by the way, I was 46 when I met her and she was 56. You know, isn't there a Keanu Reeves movie with Charlize Theron where she's gonna die and she only has a month or 2 to live? I don't remember the name of the movie. It could be the other way around. You know, my relationship with Marie lasted 14 months. I'm sad that it's over, but you know what? I am grateful for every fucking moment of those, every single day, every single hour. And it didn't go the distance, and I'm still okay. That's how I feel about it anyway. And I invite you to look at it that way as well. Okay. Bump, 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 bump. Oh, Gigi says embrace plastic surgery. I'm not always convinced about that, but I can appreciate that. Rachel says, Jonathan, I'm so glad you kept going and now you're helping. You know what's fascinating, folks? Could you imagine if I let my depression get the best of me and I was no longer here? I am grateful. I'm grateful to all of you. Oh, by the way, the movie was called Sweet November, it looks like. Looks like Patricia says it's called Sweet November, the one I was speaking of. Yeah, you know what? I am so grateful to make a difference. You know why I do this? Because you're my company during the day. I'm by myself all day long. Believe it or not, I'm so animated because I feel like I'm actually talking with you all. I love it. It's like I have a conversation with 100 people in a room. This brings me joy. So thank you for allowing me to enter your lives the way I do, because this brings me a lot of joy. Power Chi says, Jonathan Aslay, question, are there any single quality men in your men's group? I happen to be one of the single guys. Most of them are coupled. There's a few guys, but most of them, it started with the women. The women are how this group got organized. So that's how I met everybody in the group, was through my previous relationship. So unfortunately, fortunately for me, or unfortunately me, I'm the only single guy, and there's a few women who are single as well. But we're brother and sister to each other. Rebel says, thank you, Jonathan, for sharing your emotions within your heart. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Kristen did go on to say, by the way, herpes can be dormant for 10 years, not the other way around. I don't know. Anyway, didn't know what I said, but Gigi wants to say, great men's video today. Thank you so much. Folks, there are so many good men out there. I don't want you to give up on men. I get it. It's frustrating. It's challenging, but there are good men out there. They exist. They have a capacity to fall in love. Listen, folks, I was the biggest train wreck after my divorce. And if I can do it, you can find that guy just like me. They exist. It's got to look in the nooks and crannies sometimes. Sharon says, thanks, Power Chi, power of love, sweetheart. Jonathan is so fun and real, brings me joy. Hope to listen. I'm grateful and ready for whatever amazing love is coming my way. Can I get an amen? Don't forget, I do have a men's channel as well. Laura's in the house. I have a guy who is absolutely obsessed with me, in love. I don't feel the same way about him, but I feel so guilty. Oh. What's blocking you? If something's blocking you, what is it? Let's send her some good vibes. Maybe things can turn around for the two of you. Maybe you can explore, maybe hire me for a moment. By the way, you'd be surprised. Hire me for one session. I might be able to help you turn that around. Or there's a block inside of you that needs to be healed. Julie says, your video is the highlight of the day. Thank God you do these. Oh, you're very welcome. Oh, A Girl's Life says, update to my question from last live chat. The guy I was referring to posted pics of him with 2 women after I texted, never contact me again. I'm blocking you. Well, that's weird. The guy I referred to posted pics of him with 2 women after I text, never contact me again. I'm blocking you. Well, who cares what he does? We don't give a shit what he does. We care more about what you do, okay? All right. Maureen says, maybe a group of single men. Unfortunately, most of my male friends are taken. I feel like I'm the only single one. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What do you guys think is wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. But what do you think? What's my hang up? Maybe we should do a whole video on that. What's Jonathan's hang up? Oh my God, I just opened up a hornet's nest right now. Bum. Let's keep going here. Hey, you know what? I think this would be a good place to wrap up. Folks, can a man genuinely fall in love? Absolutely. What does it take for him to fall in love? Listen, emotional maturity and having his act together. It's difficult for anyone to genuinely fall in love with another human being if the ground underneath them doesn't feel solid. Okay. It's just difficult to fall in love if the ground doesn't. That's why men going through contentious divorce, they're hung up on other people. They've got professional issues going on. They've got drama going on in their life. It's difficult unless the ground underneath them is solid and they have a level of emotional maturity that they can lean into the most important aspect of a relationship. And that is, can I take care of this human being? Because when you can reach that space of saying, I can take care of someone, you're in a capacity to actually fall in love with another human being. That's my perception. That's my story. And I'm sticking to it tonight. Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this video. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. Also, if you want to connect with me, links below to schedule a discovery call with me, to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, to find me on Instagram, to get the books I recommend, to get my dating vows, all listed in the show notes and in the first comment. All right, we're going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Merrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Awaken Love, Free Yourself, Sherry, Margaret. Margaret, thanks for the donations. By the way, still time to donate before we wrap up tonight. Sherry, Elena, Tracy, Power of Chi, Kathy, Barbara, Marianne, Rebel, Melanie, Molly, Living Large Coaching and Counseling, I already said Rebel, A Girl's Life, Kathy, Julie, everyone, Laura, thank you all for the love. Wishing you a super duper wonderful, fantastic evening. You be well. Bye now.